This is the Cardinals Nest here on HBC Channel 25. Dean Beckman along with Donny Nadeau, the Sports Information Director for St. Mary's. And this is the sports show on HBC devoted exclusively to St. Mary's athletics. And Donny, on this show we've got some March Madness as we'll talk women's basketball and look back at their season, but also a little spring training action as the baseball team begins its season heading down to Arizona this year. So we've got all the sports covered on this show.
Yeah, it seems kind of fitting that the baseball team heads to Arizona. It's snowing outside right now, so I know Coach Winecke's excited to get his guys outside and actually playing. And you know, a trip to Arizona is very important for them, not only in terms of getting some games in, but also in that team chemistry and bonding situation. And you know, I know Coach Winecke will have a lot to say about that and about the team in general. You know, there are going to be a lot of new faces on this squad, but as we were talking off camera, there's a lot of players that are back that are looking to have impact seasons this year.
Yeah, we'll talk to Nick in just a little bit during the interview segment of the program coming up shortly. But first, Donny, as promised, some basketball hoops action. When we were on the show last week, we previewed St. Mary's women's basketball game, round 2 of the MIAC playoffs. They won their first round game against St. Olaf and then had to travel to St. Thomas to take on the #1 ranked Tommies. And the Cardinals put up quite a fight. I think gave the Tommies more than they could have asked for in that one. But in the end, it was a 13-point victory for St. Thomas, which incidentally went on to win over Gustavus in the championship game, and now St. Thomas in the Division III national tournament.
Yeah, and I think that 13-point deficit there is really a little bit misleading because you know, it was a great game all the way around. The Cardinals, you know, one of the things that Mandy, Coach Pearson had talked about was they got to keep St. Thomas away from getting any runs, any sustained runs, and unfortunately that really was the difference. Is St. Thomas used a couple of runs in the first half to build up a decent-sized lead, and then you know, St. Mary's did everything they could to get back in the game, and then down the end, St. Thomas used another run to pull away. But it was a great game and really a great season for the Cardinals when you look at making their first playoff in 7 years and finishing with 14 wins, the most since 2004, 2005. So hats off to the Cardinals and a great season.
Yeah, no question about it. A terrific season. And speaking of runs, Jess Thone made quite a run in the second half in that game, scored 13 consecutive points for the Cardinals at one point, and cut the lead to 7 3-3-pointers in that 13-point span, and cut the lead to just 7 with 5 minutes to go. They had to be smelling upset at that point.
Absolutely. You've got a player like Jess Thone who starts to get hot from the outside. It makes a big difference in the game. And you know, Jess has done it all year. We talked about that last week, how she can just take a game over. And again, in that second half against St. Thomas, that's exactly what Jess did. She's you know, she's such a talented player, and you know, her performance this year was you know, one that, you know, really builds for next year. You look at her and Jamie Steffley and Courtney Early, their top 3 offensive and defensive players are all back for next year. So you know, you add to that Adria Stevens and some of those other players that saw significant playing time this year. They all return, so it should be a great season again next year.
Yeah, the other thing the Cardinals learned to do this year is they learned to win those close games. When you look at the season stats, the Cardinals were actually outscored on the season by an average of 57 to 56 points per game. So not all of their games, of course, were one-point contests, but they did have a number of close games, and they learned how to win most of them.
Well, they had 11 games that were decided by 5 points or less, including 9 of their 14 wins were decided by 5 points or less. So you're right. It's one of those things that you know, when they got into a tight situation, no panic. I think you know, you have that calming effect in Jess and Jamie leading the way, and you know, you get that game in there where it's close with a couple minutes to go. They were confident that they were going to pull it off, and you know, that's the key is having that confidence and that knowledge that you know that in a close game you're going to have the people that are going to step up and hit the big shots.
Yeah, and then as far as players that they'll miss next year, Emily DeWitt, their 3-point shooting specialist, she graduates, but really pretty much everyone else back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at it was just announced on Wednesday, you've got Jess Thone and Jamie Steffley were both named first team All-MIAC. and Courtney Early was on the all-defensive team. So there's your 3 people all coming back. And, it's really it really says a lot about the progress that Coach Pearson has had in this program. We keep talking about that 2004-2005 season. The last time they made the playoffs, they finished that year 18-8. So this was the most wins that we've had since that season. Now to have 2 people on the all-conference team, first time since Jamie Rotundi and Ashley Lumen were named to that team in 2004-2005. So hopefully this is just a sign of great things to come next year. And I know that there's going to be a number of teams in the MIAC that are going to be afraid to play the Cardinals next year.
Yep. All right. So again, congratulations to the women's basketball team. A terrific season where they beat St. Olaf in the playoffs before losing a very close game against St. Thomas. Donny, women's hockey action. It was senior night for them last Friday, and all in all, they lose 5 seniors, but a pretty good weekend against Concordia.
Yeah, they played Bethel.
Or Bethel,
and it was a 2-2 tie on Friday night, and then a 3-2 win on Saturday. Bethel is a team that qualified for the playoffs. And so for them to pick up 3 of possible 4 wins against a playoff caliber team really bodes well as they head into the offseason and into next year. And what a great weekend for the seniors. You talk about it being senior night on Friday and really kind of senior weekend. You look at Friday's game, and Cherie Hasselmore, one of those 5 seniors, scored one of the Cardinals' 2 goals, and Dana Cruiser, one of those seniors, had an assist on the other goal. Then you carry over into Saturday, the 3-2 win. Nicole Olson, a senior, has 2 goals and an assist. Alex Braun, a senior. You see where I'm going with this? She scored the other one, and Dana Cruiser again had an assist. So it really was a great way to send off the seniors, and the seniors stepped up in a big weekend. Usually it's very tough emotionally to play in those games, but those 5 seniors really stepped up and did a great job. And for Nicole Olson to score 2 goals and have an assist, to have a hand in all 3 goals in that 3-2 win. What a great way to end a fabulous career for her. She finished in the top 10 in career points, career goals, and career assists, and has been just a mainstay for the Cardinals. She's been a 3-year captain for them, and really you couldn't have wrote a better way for her to close out her collegiate career than to have a weekend like she did.
Well, and you mentioned Cherie's goal. She's from New Zealand, and her parents were in town to see that. Her first goal this season for the Cardinals.
And guaranteed her first goal that her father got to see her play in her collegiate career. Really a neat story, and I know you got to talk to her dad between periods of that game on Friday night. And she's a long way from home, and what a great way to cap her collegiate career, to have her dad in the stands and for her to play the way she did that
yeah,
weekend.
It's interesting. She would like to stay in the United States if it can all work out with a job and everything, but it was definitely special to have her family in attendance as she gets her first goal of the season. So, not the way the season ended up, as they just missed the playoffs by two rankings there, as we see the final regular season, St. Olaf getting that last playoff spot. But still, I thought coming together pretty well toward the end of the season. They're playing well against Concordia and then Bethel.
Yeah, you talk about a crazy season for the Cardinals. If you just look at their record right there, they had 6 ties. We talked just before about the women basketball being able to win those close games. That just shows you how many games that they were right there. They forced it into that 5-minute overtime, just weren't able to find that that game-winning goal in the overtime. But that's how close they were. You have 6 ties, a school record for ties in a season, and I think Coach Manor would be one that would say, I think we were better than our record proved. And again, you just look at all those ties and all those opportunities that they had, and how close they really were. I think that it bodes well for next year. They're certainly going to miss those 5 seniors. They are a significant piece to the puzzle, but there's a lot of talent coming back. Brianna Peterson had a great freshman season, did a wonderful job, really kind of stepped up as that go-to person to score goals, and I look for big things from her again next year and in future years.
And she's tall enough; she doesn't even need to step up.
She definitely is tall enough.
And the other thing, before we move on to track and field, Donnie, Sarah Gustafson, you can't say enough about her in goal for the Cardinals. Played all but 3 games in goal, logged so many minutes. Has knee problems the way it is, but she was just an absolute workhorse.
Oh, she's a gamer, and yeah, you're right. You have to tip your cap to her, and she had a great season. And last year she really wasn't called upon that often because they were splitting time between 2 goalies last year, and this year Coach Manor needed her to step up and play just about every game. Like you said, once second semester rolled around, she played every single minute of every single game, and that's a lot for anybody to to have to do, and I think she did a phenomenal job.
All right, in track and field, the indoor track and field championships for the conference this weekend. Last weekend, it was the St. Olaf qualifier, and it was the Peter Borash and Coco Miller show in St. Olaf.
Yeah, it was the last, as they call it, the last tune-up before the MIC indoors, and Coach McMahon could not be happier with the way things unfolded. You got Coco Booker, who won the shot put, and you've got Peter Borash, who set the school record in the 1,000. Two outstanding performances, just to go along with several other great performances that you can see there on the screen. I know I talked to Coach McMahon just this morning as we started talking about this weekend, and he's very excited about the potential and what this team can do. They've got 13 individuals qualified to take part in the MIC indoors, which is a solid number. And she's had a great year. We've talked about her just about every week on this show. She goes into the shot put competition ranked third in the MIAC. If she can hold on to that spot in the competition, she'll be all conference, which would be a great testament to the season that she's had. Cassandra Burtis has had a solid showing. She'll compete in both the shot and the weight throw. You've got Peter Borash, who's running great in the 1,000. Jake Traxler's having a great year. Aaron Haley, Coach McMahon actually singled him out this morning when we were talking. He qualified in both the 3,000 and the 5,000, and for a freshman to make it in both of those events, which are very select events where there's only 16 qualifiers that make it in those two events in the entire conference, that's a big for a freshman to be able to do. And I know that Coach McMahon is looking forward to just seeing what this team can do now when they get on that stage for Friday and Saturday up in St. Paul.
Well, I know Aaron just a little bit. His character is so strong. I don't see anyone outworking him. And so just a freshman, he'll certainly build in that program. And then again, you mentioned some of the women qualifiers there. Also, Amy Spitzmuller has had a nice season, kind of quietly, a little under the radar, but she's turned in some nice performances.
And I think it's like we've talked about, just about all year. We hinted at the beginning of the year that the distance runners were going to have solid track seasons this year because of the cross-country seasons that they had. And the names that we've mentioned, you're right, Amy Spitzmuller, Regina Quant, Jake Traxler, Peter Borash, Aaron Haley, all of those guys had really, really solid cross-country seasons, and it's carrying over into the indoor track and will again carry over into the outdoor track. They have a mission. They're on a mission. They know that they can do some great things, and they're just they're just motivated to really bring out the best in themselves, especially when the meets are the biggest.
Well, and the pole vault is an event I would want no part of because I can just picture that thing snapping. But Rebecca Eiton placed third there in St. Olaf in that event. Yeah,
and she should do a solid job at the conference championships. I'm with you. There's no way you're going to get me in that activity. But Becca's done a great job all year, and I think that Coach McMahon expects her to really make some noise up at the conference championships. And the problem being is that it's a two-day event, and you get your one shot at these things, and you need to be at your best. And right now, if the only qualifier is any indication, the Cardinals are certainly at their best and ready to go for this weekend.
All right, in women's tennis action, Donnie, the Cardinals last weekend took on nationally ranked Gustavus and gave them a bit of a run. 7-2 was the final. McKenna Edwards with a hand in both victories for St. Mary's, one in singles at number 2 singles, and then at number 1 doubles, and quite a matchup there at number 1 doubles.
Yeah, whenever you take on Gustavus, you're taking on not only the conference's best, but the region and the nation's best. And the 7-2 loss, you never like to lose, but there certainly was some solid performances. As you mentioned, McKenna had a great weekend, picking up the doubles win against a regionally ranked opponent there, and then teaming with Bailey for a big win at number 1 doubles against a team that was ranked number 4 in the region. So it was a very solid performance from McKenna. And really, I think we found out last fall when she competed in the ITA regionals that McKenna can play. And so for her to win 2 matches like that really isn't as much a surprise as you'd think coming from a freshman. But she certainly is an experienced player and really kind of gets up for the big matches. She's 4-0 in her last 4 matches. Teaming with Bailey at number 1, they're playing outstanding, and she's a really solid number 2 for them.
And as you can see there, they're going to Orlando, as is the men's tennis team. And the men coming off a two-match sweep last weekend as they knocked off Ripon and also Concordia out of Wisconsin.
Yeah, good weekend for the Cardinals, and they're kind of setting themselves up well. It's interesting that we're 7 games into the season, and the men haven't opened their conference season yet. So I think they're positioning themselves well. They'll have 4 matches in Florida, and then they'll open up the conference March 16th against Bethel. So these are very important matches in Florida. Obviously, everybody likes to go on a trip, and you can ask Coach Winecke that. He loves to go on his trip. But everybody likes to go on a trip, but there's a lot of work to be done, and there are 4 very important matches for the Cardinals, and hopefully when they come back, they can be playing as well as they are right now. Mike Winecke and Bobby Steingraber are just playing unbelievable tennis at #1 doubles. They're 7-0 right now. They have not been beaten. And in singles, both of them are doing a great job. Lunka's playing at #1, and Steingraber's at #3 with Sam Puff in there too. And so you've got some solid tennis being played. Now it's just a matter of keeping that going as they get ready for the conference season.
Yeah, big coach nod to Coach Hallberg, because all those men's players that you mentioned, they have definitely improved during their time at St. Mary's, playing great tennis right now, as is the women's team, and both head down to Florida here for spring break. And now softball action. We're going to bring in Nick Winecke, the head baseball coach, shortly. But first, the softball team started play already in the Rochester Dome, and it was either low-scoring football games, Donny, or high-scoring softball games. 9-6, 13-10, the final scores as they come up on the short end against a very, very good Cornell team out of Iowa, one of the better conferences in Division III.
Yeah, no question. I think if you gave Coach Miller the opportunity, she would say that those were 2 football games from back when we played football rather than softball games. But, you know, it's the beginning of the season. You can kind of take these 2 games for what they are, and that is to get into some playing time, and you know, we can ask Coach Winecke when he sits down here. There's such a difference when you're playing in a dome or playing inside than it is to get outside.
That environment there in Rochester, it's not a big environment. It's small. It's confined. You're in a dome. That's some tough sledding for the first game of the year.
Exactly, and you're going up against a team like Cornell that can really hit the ball. They had 8 home runs in the 2 games, and so that makes a big difference. And I think that you know, obviously Coach Miller would have liked to have won those two games, but you know, they're over and they can start focusing on their trip to Florida. They're playing a lot of very talented teams. Muhlenberg's a great team. The College of New Jersey is a team that St. Mary's faced in the 2000 College World Series, so they know a little bit about them. Some very talented teams, and it will be a very important week of softball for them in Florida.
Yeah, real quick, Alex Rasky, freshman catcher, center fielder, 2 hits in the first game and 3 hits in the second game.
Yeah, 5 for 8. That's a great start to a collegiate career, and I know that Coach Miller's going to be expecting that from her. She hits in the leadoff spot, and she needs to get on base, and against Cornell, she did a great job of that.
Yeah. All right, we'll bring in Nick Winecke next, the head baseball coach, talk about their spring trip to Arizona. That's next here on HBC's Cardinals Nest.
BTN hits the hardwood for college hoops.
Oh, this could be fun!
Witness all the excitement of the season when Rodney Williams and the Gophers take the floor.
Oh! Young fella! Getting up high!
Big Ten basketball all season long on BTN.
Hey, George? Yeah? One of your sticky notes? Yeah. Come on in. You know, I'm just gonna write it on my hand. Thanks. Sure?
Yeah. And we're back here on the Cardinals Nest. Dean Beckman, Donny Nadeau, Nick Winecke joining us, the head baseball coach for the Cardinals. Nick, thanks for being on the show. And you were off camera watching during that last segment, and you're probably hearing all these teams going to Florida. You're probably checking your plane ticket, make sure you got the right state. You're going to Arizona this year, right?
Yep, this will be our 4th year going down there. So we made the switch my first year here, and really thought it was a good situation for us. We like it down there a lot, so it's a good spot to be at.
And you also heard the softball team had one game in the Rochester Dome. I know you've been scheduled to practice there. Have you gotten in any practices over in Rochester?
Yeah, we were out there about 2 weeks ago, and we're actually going out there tonight. So we were supposed to go out there last night, and the weather sort of put a damper on that, so we're going to go out there this afternoon. So
let's talk a little bit. You start practice February 1. You've got to be chomping at the bit now to get outside and start playing. I mean, you can only do so much in the batting cage and in the Rochester Dome. How eager are these guys to get on that plane and get to where they can actually play ball?
Yeah, I think they're antsy. I think they're just antsy to get out there and play against somebody else. They've worked extremely hard so far, but I think we're at the moment we're ready to go play a different team and see what we can do. So,
talk a little bit about when you mentioned you're going over to the Rochester Dome tonight. What can you do there that you can't do in the rack at St. Mary's?
Yeah, we can pretty much play. We can pretty much do everything we would do in a normal game, minus a couple balls hitting off the ceiling here or there. But we can really get a lot done. We get a lot of work done, fly balls, obviously what we can't do inside. So it's a good tune-up before we fly out on Saturday.
Nick, we got the schedule up there on the screen. Talk about some of the teams you'll be playing here on the trip. I know you haven't done a lot of scouting, but you've got Northern State University, Benedictine University out of Springfield, Concordia, Simpson, and Albright College. So what do you know about some of these opponents?
Yeah, Northern State D2, so they're a scholarship school, so it should be a good test for us right off the bat. Benedictine's an NAIA school, so you really just never know with that. And then we go against some pretty good teams. Concordia, Illinois is a top 25 team. And then we have Simpson, who finished in the middle of the pack in the Iowa Conference. And then we end up with Albright and then Lewis and Clark to end the trip. So very good trip for us against some good quality teams, and we'll see how our guys do.
You played against Concordia last year down in Arizona. Does it help that you played them last year? Does it make a difference as you head into this year?
I don't think it really makes a difference. They're a good quality team. They finished real well last year. They're going to be tough again this year. They returned a couple key guys. So we just got to go out there and compete. And for us, we always talk about we really don't play the other uniform. We just play the game. So usually the winner of the baseball game is going to be the team that makes the least amount of mistakes, and that's our goal.
You mentioned that Concordia didn't, they returned a lot of top guys. Let's talk about you guys, because if you look at your lineup this year, it's certainly going to look a little different than it did last year.
Yeah, we graduated a decent chunk out of our lineup. We're very, very young as a program. We only have 3 seniors right now, which is a good thing. I think the younger guys have really stepped up. We played a lot of freshmen last year that are now sophomores. So they're a pretty experienced bunch when it comes to that, just a little bit younger. A lot of sophomores, a lot of juniors. So we're looking for them to step up.
Talk about the seniors a little bit and what they bring, not only on the field but also off the field.
Yeah, it's a wide variety of the 3 of them. They all have very different personalities. So they can sort of be able to touch base with all the younger guys, be able to connect with them all in a different way. I'd say probably Kurt Swanson is the most vocal, the most name recognition out of them. But I think each of them do something that's a little different and do something better than the other guy does. So it's been a great group so far. They've done an awesome job, all 3 of them.
Kurt had a great year last year, and you speak about him being the vocal one. It's kind of fitting that he's the catcher, because really on the baseball field you got to take charge, and that's usually the person that does that. Talk a little bit about what Kurt does so well, because he's improved every single year. Last year he had a great year as a junior.
Yeah, we're expecting him to have another big year. We sort of have worn him out over the past 3 years a little bit. If you look at his numbers halfway through the MIAC season, he sort of starts to run out of gas a little bit. And that's my fault. That's not his fault. We're asking him to play a lot of innings. But he really attacked it through the offseason. When we sat down and I said, hey, I don't know if we're going to be able to catch the innings, he gave me a look like, okay, I'll show you. And that's exactly what you want him to do. He competes really hard. And he's harder on himself than anybody else, but you got to love those kind of players. So.
You mentioned the strong sophomore class. Who specifically are some of the sophomores, juniors you're looking to step up and not only play a lot of innings, but also fill some of that leadership role that with only 3 seniors, you have to look to some of the underclassmen to do?
Yeah, I think a couple juniors, Vince Luke, who's been a big part of our program the last 2 years. Vinny will be out in the outfield. He just competes every single day. Vince shows up. He shows up to work. I think on the pitching staff from the junior side, Justin Cronenbusch is a name to watch out for a little bit. I think Justin's done a good job of working hard through the offseason, putting himself in a position to be successful. And then a couple of the sophomores, Paul Anasa has really stepped up, become a leader. He played about half the games last year. John Schlemmer, we need to continue to have a great year. John led us in RBIs last year, and he didn't play the last 8 games in the conference. So we're expecting him to continue to keep on going and not only mature physically, but mentally as well.
You know, I think one of the things I've always found with your teams is versatility. And you mentioned Vince being out in the outfield. He's a perfect example. In Arizona last year, he was at third base.
Yeah.
And then an injury happened, and I remember you asking him, can you go play outfield? And he kind of looked at you a little bit and said, okay, I can do that. And I mean, that's important for your team because you're not real deep in terms of numbers. You don't have a 40-man roster, so it's important for people to be able to play more than one position.
Yeah, I think, you take a look just at Vince himself. He came in as a catcher coming in out of high school and moved into third, and now he plays the outfield for us. And very well easily could come back into the infield. I'm a huge fan of having guys be able to play multiple positions, can do a lot of different things. I also think that's the fun part of playing, is be able to play all these different positions. And the more positions you know how to play, the better player you're going to be, because you're going to know the game mentally as well as physically. So it's a big part of it.
As you look to heading into your trip to Arizona, strength-wise, what's the strength of this Cardinal team?
I think right now our ability to swing the bats a little bit. I think we're going to put up some runs. I like this team from top to bottom. We have some guys, don't be shocked if you see a lot of different lineups down there. And I think the overall team speed is going to be critical for us. And I really do think our pitchers are going to surprise some people a little bit. It's a good group that has worked extremely hard and really has taken it to heart and really set out for a goal this year to accomplish. And if we can throw the ball over the plate, I think we're going to be able to play a little defense. We're going to be able to score some runs.
Nick, this is going to go back to Donnie's versatility question, but I remember your first year as head coach. We had you on the program. We asked you your recruiting philosophy, and I remember you saying, I don't recruit third basemen, second basemen, I recruit baseball players. And I think now, as some of those recruits are entering their sophomore, junior seasons, we're seeing that pay off.
Yeah, I think it's just a valuable tool. I always tell the guys, it's my belief that I want to be able to get you on the field as much as I can while still helping the team. And the more positions you can play, obviously, the better chance you have to get on the field. And we talk all the time, the most important 4-letter word in our program is team. What is the best thing for this team to do? Might not be me individually, but as a team, how can I help the team be successful? And I think that's our goal, and that's the goal of the 30 guys in our locker room.
Talk one last time about the trip itself. Obviously you're going down there to play baseball, and I think you've always referred to it. This is a business trip. This isn't a vacation. But there is an important aspect of this trip that really has nothing to do with baseball.
Oh, it's critical. You look back, just on my own personal experience, you remember these trips for the rest of your life. You remember who you roomed with. You remember all the things that you did. And we do have a lot of fun. I just told the guys 2 nights ago, hey, we're not going down on vacation. But at the same time, we're going to have some fun. And they will have fun just being around each other. It's a very, very close group. And I think it's just a critical part of how the team comes together.
Are you going to get to a Cactus League game or two?
Yeah, actually we are. We're going to the Angels spring training game on Wednesday. I believe it's the 6th. So
well, as a St. Louis Cardinals fan, could you heckle Pujols for me, please?
We might only see him throwing that bat, and he'll be out of the game, so
Nick,
it won't be too bad.
Just 30 seconds left. Want to congratulate you. A lot of people may not know you are an amateur baseball champion this year, right? Tell us
Something
about
along those
that.
lines. Yeah, it was a fun summer. We had the opportunity to play on a team full of really good guys and really good baseball players. Just sort of a team that sort of just put it all together. And it's still nice to get out there and play a little bit. And sometimes you forget coaching how hard the game is. And it sort of puts it back into your place a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you guys won the state tournament, though.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good opportunity. I pretty much have played in it every year that I've played, and this is the first time that we've been able to win it. But it was just a lot of good guys, and it was just a lot of fun.
All right, Nick, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck down in Arizona.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for watching the Cardinals Nest here on HBC.